Well, hey everybody, and welcome to this special wrap party for season pass members of 2012, where Aaron's going to go through and kind of review some of the things we talked about and all the different sessions from 2012. We're excited you're listening. A lot of you are listening after the fact, and we're excited you're here too. So, Aaron, let's go ahead and get into some of the review.
Okay, sounds great. And first of all, I just wanted to mention it was a great year. I had some really wonderful guests, and one of the things that's great for me about doing the monthly workshops, and I know it's a little bit selfish on my end, but I learned a tremendous amount, not only from the guests that I interview, but also it's kind of like with anything with teaching. You learn so much when you teach other people things. And as I was putting the workshops together, I was just really understanding things a lot better. And anyhow, they're always a lot of fun. I thought it was a great year. And so welcome to the wrap party. And like Joel had mentioned, what I was planning on doing is really going through the entire 2012 series. So let me just show you, this is what I'm planning on discussing. It's going to be a short evening of just really kind of summarizing some of the major topics that we talked about. And I'll say a couple words at the very end of the day as well. So we're going to be talking about the headshot secrets, talking about headshots, marketing yourself, finding work with or without an agent. And the reason why I'm specifying, well, you know what, I'll get into those details later when I talk about that specific topic. How to create a strong resume, getting voiceover work, understanding unions, and commercial modeling secrets. So the very first thing that I just wanted to touch on again is talking about headshots. And headshots, they're crucial. They are so important. And I know this sounds a little bit weird, but in some ways, your headshot is more important to you than your acting skills. And let me tell you how I'm justifying that statement. You can be incredibly talented, and if you were trying to submit yourself to agents for representation or trying to submit yourself for jobs, sending the headshot to a casting director, or even whether it's a producer, people at advertising agencies, the reality is if your headshot is really not good, it does not represent you well, it doesn't put you into a good category, is done in an unprofessional manner, then people aren't going to look at you very seriously. So that's why your headshot is so important. Now, of course, you have to have the skills to back it up, but the first step is your headshot because in many ways that is going to be your initial introduction to the world. And so some of the key ingredients that we discussed during the Headshot Secrets workshop is number one, you've got to make sure that the photo looks like you. And I know that might sound a little bit weird, but sometimes people do all kinds of things to their headshot and they try to have it retouched afterwards. And certain retouching is fine. Like, for instance, if there were hairs out of place, if there was some lint on your blouse or your shirt or something like that, that's fine. But sometimes people have this idea of, oh, I've got a wrinkle on the side of on the side of my face, under my eye. I just want to get that taken care of. Well, the problem is, number one, sometimes you might get hired because of that wrinkle, because you have a certain kind of look. The other thing too is you have to look like your photo. So if it's something that gets retouched and you have the ability, whether it's via makeup, to be able to hide whatever you want to hide that was taken out during the airbrush, not airbrushing, but during the Photoshop, that's fine. But if you can't, then don't make those kinds of drastic changes. Don't try to make you look like somebody that you are not. A couple of the other really key things about headshots that are also important that we talked about in the workshops is your wardrobe. Make sure your wardrobe enhances your image, but you don't want to make the headshot about the clothing. It really should help put you into a certain category. but don't make it stand out. So don't go out and buy very expensive clothing because you think it looks, great on you and it looks fancy. And the same thing holds true with earrings, necklaces, jewelry. I mean, anything. You don't want people looking at anything but you. And the other thing true is also true is if you're setting up your headshot, make sure there's not a lot of skin showing because our eyes go to the lightest part of the page. So if you have your shoulder towards the camera, which you shouldn't be straight on, you should be a little bit towards the camera with one shoulder. Don't have a sleeveless shirt, don't have a lot of skin showing in your chest area because I'm talking about from a technical point of view, that's where our eyes are going to go. So a lot of times people will have layers, they form a V shape in their shirt or their sweater, their blouse, and it really helps, other people who are looking at your headshot focus on your face. The same thing holds true with, you know, things in the background. Make sure that you don't have anything that is taking people away from looking at you. So those are really some of the key points that we talked about during the headshot session. Just make sure it looks like you. Make sure you're the center of attention, that you're the focus. And also make sure that you create a look that puts you into the right kinds of categories. And you need to have your eyes showing life. If you have a look where somebody says, well, let me see a nice smile, and you do a nice smile, but there's nothing going on in your brain, I can guarantee you your eyes are going to look dead. And those are the kinds of headshots that get tossed out. People want to see something that interests them, something where you are telling something to the viewer of your headshot. It doesn't matter if they know what it is, but there's got to be some kind of life there. And for me, what I always do, because I know what categories are right for me, how I'm going to get cast, the kinds of roles I'm going to get brought in to read for, typically it's going to be somebody that is approachable, somebody you like, somebody who's successful, somebody who's kind. And that's not to say I can't play other roles, but what I always do is I'm thinking about people who I care about. And when you do that, there's this life, there's this energy that will just shoot out of your eyes. And that's what you want to capture. Whatever your image is, that's what you want to capture. So anyhow, those are just some of the major topics that I wanted to recap for you about headshots. And I guess the very last thing is just make sure that you keep them updated. That's really key. Sometimes people get very lazy with headshots. Don't do that. It puts you in a bad position. Makes your agent look bad if you're showing up with a headshot that was taken 15 years ago and you've gained 50 pounds, you look a whole lot older. It's not good for anybody. So just make sure it's up to date. Okay, next topic, marketing yourself, finding work without an agent. Now, let me just make this really clear. For those of you who have agents, I am not suggesting in any way that you try to bypass your agent. You don't want to do that. Number one, if you have an exclusive contract, you've got a signed contract that is stipulating that all work is going through your agent. That, of course, you're not going to do that. But the other thing too is, even if you have an agent and you don't have an exclusive contract and you are allowed to get work on your own, I'd still send it through your agent because your agent is going to know what to charge. The agent's going to give you a much better chance of getting paid for the job. And also the agent will know that it's a legitimate job, which is something you do have to be concerned about if you're trying to book things on your own. Having said all that, I still think it's a great idea to market yourself, even if you have an agent. And like I said, send the job through your agent. There are many different ways of trying to market yourself. It can be anything from sending your headshot and or composite sheet with a cover letter to art and creative directors at advertisers, Sometimes they are the people who make the final decisions as to which model gets hired for the commercial modeling job, or which actor gets hired for the voiceover work, or which actor gets hired, even for the TV commercial. Other areas that you can go to for marketing yourself is going to photographers. And you can market yourself directly to photographers in your area. Sometimes the people at the advertising agency, the art and creative directors, will let you know who are some of the photographers who actually shoot ads for them. That would be very helpful. You can go to the Chamber of Commerce and see if they have a listing of advertising agencies there. There are associations for advertising agencies, AAAA.org, it's 4 A's, American Association of Advertising Agencies. And I would, find photographers that way. There are some listservs that you can get onto, and these are free. You can just do some Google searches. You can also try other kinds of places. There's things like Mandy.com you can check in on. There's, I'm sure I know there are a number of other, there's Craigslist. I mean, that's another place. On my website, howtomodel.com, if I hear about an audition or a go-see or a job, I'll post it. There are meetup groups. I mean, there are many different ways that you can try to find work on your own. But I just really want to emphasize again, if you do book a job on your own and you have an agent, send it through your agent. It's always much better. And the good thing too is that the agent will put you on the top of their list. You're somebody that's marketable, you're somebody that's making them money. So anyhow, it's a good relationship to have with your agent. And there's also no better way of getting an agent then after you book the job on your own, you call an agent and just say, hey, I just wanted to let you know, I just booked this print ad. I wanted to find out, would you handle it for me? Well, of course, they're going to want to handle it for you because they're going to make money and they didn't even have to do any work. So anyhow, that's what I want to talk about with marketing yourself. And those are just some of the things, some of the highlights of what we discussed during that workshop. Okay, so how to create a strong resume. So just a couple of things just to recap from the entire session. People need to understand that there is no such thing as a modeling resume. I know I've had a number of people ask me about that. You do not create a resume for modeling at all. You only create a resume for acting. And you're going to attach your resume to the back of your headshot. And there are a variety of ways that you can do that. Some people print their resume right onto the back of their headshot, and that's fine if you're only doing a few of those. I wouldn't do it with a whole lot, only because if you want to update your resume, now you have to throw out your headshot. Some people like to glue their resume to the back of their headshot, and they'll have to do staples. I don't like doing that either. And look, there is no one right way of doing it. I'm just sharing you my suggestions. I don't like doing that either, only because you've got to line up the paper just perfectly, and then if it's a little bit off, then it's stuck to the headshot. You might have to just toss them both out. And before I forget, make sure that your resume is 8 by 10. So it has to be cut. It's not regular size paper. It gets cut down to 8 by 10, so it's not sticking out on the side of the 8 by 10 headshot. Another way that some people like to attach their resume to their headshot is by using it's kind of like sticky paper. You pull off the adhesive on the back after you've printed it out, and then you put it on there. Once again, it just feels very tricky. You just have to hit it perfectly. Some people will staple one corner of the resume, or maybe the two top corners of the resume. I don't like doing that either, only because I want to make sure it stays on there, and sometimes it can get separated if it's going into a file cabinet. So I like to staple all four corners. A key thing to remember with resumes is that don't get hung up with the whole idea of, I really don't have much to put on my resume. And I'm not saying resumes aren't important, but they're not as important as you may think because people understand you have to start somewhere. We're not born in this world with a great resume. And you might even be surprised how much information you can really put on a resume, even with little or no experience. So, a couple things that you definitely need to have on a resume. You got to have a name. You've got to have contact information. And if you have an agent, put your agent's information there. If you don't have an agent or you want to be able to also submit yourself and market yourself, then you can have your contact information. I know I've mentioned this before, but since this is a recap, I'll mention again. For those of you who don't want to use your personal either home phone number or your personal cell phone number, you can get a free phone number at google.com/voice, and you can actually get a free phone number. And then anybody who calls that number, you can set it up so it gets forwarded to either your cell phone or your home phone. You got to have some stats on there. Typically, people want to know your height, your weight, eye color, hair color. And that's all you really need to put in there. And if you've done any theater, absolutely put it in there. Sometimes people are concerned, well, this is something I did 5 years ago or 10 years ago. That's all right. Be honest on your resume. That's the key thing. Don't lie, don't make up things. I hear stories about people thinking, well, who's really going to know if I did this play 5 years ago or not? I mean, so they'll just make something up. And look, it's possible nobody's going to know, but it's not a good way to run your business. You don't have to lie in this business to have real success. And for the stories that I've heard where people actually have been caught, it's disastrous because you'll get kicked out of a casting director's office. An agent will boot you out because once you're caught lying, everything that you have on your resume is suspect. So as long as you did it, put it in there. If you did a student film, put it in there. It doesn't, you don't have to have a starring role in a feature film in order to put things on a resume. And especially for people who haven't had much experience, what will be really, really helpful is the training section. And you're going to have, your education and what classes you've taken. And sometimes people will see, okay, well, the person's just getting started. They've taken some interesting classes, and make it specific. Did you take acting for the camera? Did you do dialogue or script analysis? Make sure that it sticks with acting. You don't want to put anything with modeling on your resume. I mean, nothing with pageants, nothing with modeling. This is strictly dealing with acting work. Maybe it's acting for the camera, whatever it is, commercial acting class, whatever it is, list the class, list the instructor, maybe the location, and at least that way people can see, okay, the person's just getting started, okay, they've taken some good classes. And I know that one of the other things that we discussed was dealing with extra work, whether you should list that. And typically I would say, no, don't list any extra work on there, because being an extra doesn't necessarily show that you've got acting skills. Having said that, I have spoken with some people who had absolutely nothing else to put on a resume. But they did do some extra work on some TV shows or feature films. So what I suggested was this. List a couple. You don't want to fill up a whole resume filled with extra work. And make it very clear that you were an extra. Don't try to give the impression that you were really a day player or you had a principal role in this project. You might put down a bartender, in this well-known movie, and you're going to think, well, maybe people are going to actually think that I was a bartender and I had lines and things like that. If you put bartender, then in parentheses put extra. So that way you're being very upfront. You're letting people know you were an extra. You're not trying to fool anybody. And at least that way they know, okay, the person's been on movie sets. They've been on sets for television shows. So they have an idea that you're not that new, that you've had some experience. And, along with that and your education, that could be very helpful. And also special skills. And And that's the one area where you might actually put something that's not quite connected in a way that you would think would be connected with acting, but you still might want to list it. And I'll give you some very specific details. And I know these are things that we talked about as well. Let's say you're a bartender. You've done bartending. Now, normally you would think, well, that's not showing any acting skills. I would definitely put that down on your resume, professional bartender, because sometimes they might need to audition a bartender for a scene. Well, it's always helpful if the person knows what they're doing. Maybe you speak foreign languages. Put that down. That could be very helpful. Do you drive a six shift? That might be helpful. Now, outside of New York, people wouldn't do this, but in New York, when you look at actors' resumes, quite often it will say driver's license. And most of the people in the United States look at that and go, why would you put down driver's license? Well, because in New York, a lot of people don't drive. A lot of people just take cabs and subways and walk. So there's no need for a car for the most part. So anyhow, but if you can do a 5-speed, if you drive a truck, that's helpful. Do you play an instrument? And for all of these things, you don't have to be a professional. You just have to be proficient at it. So that if you're cast and you put down, basketball, you put down baseball, as long as you look like you know what you're doing, that's fine. So if you get cast in a commercial and they say, okay, well, you're going to be up at plate and you're going to be swinging really hard at a pitch. Okay, so as long as you look like you know what you're doing, put it in there. Do you do martial arts? That would be interesting as well. You never know when somebody might need somebody who has those kinds of skills. So sometimes your special skills can help get you either the part or at least bring you in for the audition. Basically, what you want to always be thinking of is, how can I make the casting director's life easier? Or how can I make my agent's life easier? So she is submitting or he's submitting somebody for a particular role that's needed. If you have some of those skills that is required, you're making life easier for them. So the key things: be honest, put down all the information that you think that will be helpful to other people in the industry, and just relax with it. Understand that we're not born into this world with a great resume. Okay, getting voiceover work. That was also another great session. I know I had mentioned that there are many different areas of voiceover work. It could be narration, um, it could be announcer work. You could be doing cartoons. You could be doing voiceover for TV commercials, radio spots. It could even be like online services where you're put on hold, and you're calling a company, and there's this voice: "Hi, we've got a sale going on this week," blah blah blah, and that kind of stuff. There are many different areas of voiceover work, and the key thing is you will need to put together a demo reel. It's not really a reel. They still call it demo reels, but it's an MP3 file. And what you want to do is have a very short and I'm still going to call them demo reels because that's what they're called, but it's not really a reel. And it really shows your voice. Some of the key things that we talked about is, don't try to be able to do everything. Some people think, well, I want to do animation. I want to do the voice of God. I want to be the NFL voiceover guy, or the guy you hear in movies and in the trailers. Like, if you actually have those abilities, great. Then show that. Quite often you might want to show it in separate reels. But for most of us, we have a certain sound, we have certain strengths, and that's what you want to have on your reel. It's much better to put yourself into the one category or maybe two categories that you are very strong in, than to just try to throw yourself open to everything. Because if you put a lot of things on your reel that aren't great, the great things are going to be diminished, and nobody's going to take those things seriously. So only put things in there that you are phenomenal at. For me, look, I can't do everything. What I'm good at is, when you need the real guy, the believable guy, somebody that you trust, somebody who's friendly, That's good. That's what I do really well. So those are the areas that I have. Those are the different types that I will have on my voiceover reel. Typically, they're going to be 1 minute. Um, there are some websites where you can have things up to 2 minutes, but honestly, people generally don't listen that long. They want to hear it very quickly. The other thing is you want to make sure the copy, the words, if you are creating your demo on your own, that the words that you're saying, it has to be great. It really has to sound like a radio spot. And if you don't have any experience and you're creating your very first demo, what you want to do is make sure you get the copy, you get the words, but don't use anything that is so well known that people are going to compare it to other people. So one place that you can go, this is what I did when I first got started. There's a publication called Communication Arts, and I believe it's commarts .com, .org. I can't remember. If you just Google Communication Arts, you'll find them. And I know they used to do this, and I'm assuming they still do. They have a year end, like the best of, and in their publication, it's the best TV commercials, the best radio commercials. And what I did was I went to a bookstore and I just kind of read through the publication. And I found certain radio spots that really sounded right for me. And that's how I created my demo. I went to a studio. I mean, if you had the equipment, you could do it at home. You want to make these things really sound like ads. So you do want to drop maybe some music in the background. So if that's the case, because you want to do all this stuff very legally, you can find places where you can do that. Or maybe you can go to a studio and spend a few hours and put together a demo. It doesn't have to cost you a fortune. Maybe there are some schools in your area that teach this, engineering kind of work, and they're always looking for voiceover talent. So maybe you can, to practice with. So maybe you can work out some kind of deal where you work this out, and they're not charging you very much money. And basically, you're going to have it on your website. There are other websites you can place it on, but also this gives your agent an opportunity to send out your voiceover work. And just to summarize this topic, I can tell you it's one of the more difficult areas to break into, and I'm not trying to discourage you in any way. It's a very difficult area. It can also be extremely lucrative, and it's cool. I mean, to be able to go into a studio and be able to make things come to life, make things sound very visual so people can really see and feel it just with your voice. So anyhow, voiceover work is really cool, and it was a great workshop. Okay, understanding unions. What are the unions and should you join? So March in 2012, the two major unions for actors, SAG, Screen Actors Guild, and AFTRA, the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, they merged. And there's also equity that's strictly for theater. So these two unions are now unified. It's all one union. We're not all that creative when it comes to naming things. So the new union was SAG, was AFTRA. The new union is now called SAG-AFTRA. So, and basically what they do is the unions help protect you. They do not get you work. Do not think that, oh, I want to join the union so I can start getting more work. They have nothing to do with getting you work. What they do is they negotiate basic contracts for actors, for television shows, for commercials, for TV shows, and there's some things called industrial films, and there's some other areas. And basically, they are there to help protect you, to make sure you get paid, work out basic negotiations. Look, you can charge anything that you want, but they will negotiate scale, like what's the minimum you're going to earn. And I can tell you where the real money is for actors who are union actors. It's not the huge amounts of money that some actors make on a TV show. It's not the huge amounts of money that some actors make off of feature films. It's TV commercials. Because basically, As long as your commercial is running, you get your session fee. You also get paid. There's something called units, and every city has a certain amount of units attached to it, and you get paid a certain amount of money per unit. So the bigger the market that your commercial is running in, the more money you're going to make. And every 13 weeks, which is a quarter of a year, you will be sent a residual check. And that check consists of your session fee and the units that it's running in. And it's every 13 weeks. You keep getting these checks sent to you, and let me tell you, that is cool. When you're, opening up your mailbox, and all of a sudden there's a check from something you might have done a year ago, 2 years ago. And so if you have things running nationally, then you're talking about a lot more markets, a lot more units, and a lot more money. And I know people who've made $250,000 from one television commercial. Now, let me just tell you, it's hard to book those things. It's hard to make that kind of money only because it has to run for a long time period. And it has to run in major markets for a long stretch. But those are cool. Those are great. Uh, Having said that, about that you will earn more, you will have more protection. Just to give you a very quick example, and I don't need to get into names of shows, but there was a show where I wasn't paid properly for the work that I did, for the amount of hours. And basically, when my agent called the production company and they said, you only paid Aaron, up till like 5 a.m. and I worked till, I don't know, like 7 a.m. or something like that. And I was owed, a few hundred more dollars. Basically, they said, hey, you got a problem with this? Just go to the union. We're not dealing with you. And I said, okay. So I went to the union and I got paid more money. If it were non-union, what am I going to hire an attorney to go after a major production company for that? So anyhow, being in the union can be very helpful to you. Having said that, let me also tell you, the unions might not be right for you. And, if you're living in an area where there is no union work, then I don't, and I know the union probably isn't crazy about me saying this, but I honestly believe that it might not be best for you to join the union at that time. If you don't have any experience, it might be better to do non-union work first, get a lot of experience, and then eventually join the union. I can tell you their number one rule is once you become a union member, you are only allowed to do union acting jobs. Now, they don't care about modeling, they have no jurisdiction over that. But if you're a union member, you have to do a union acting job. Now, there are some exceptions to the rule, and I don't get into all the specific details here. So a couple of things to keep in mind is, do you feel like you're ready to join the union? And that's not to say that just because you're non-union doesn't mean you're not a great actor and that you're not going to be booking jobs, that are union jobs. I know for a fact there are tons of phenomenal actors who've chosen for many reasons not to join the union. But I'm just saying, if you haven't had experience, it's like with anything else. Look, you want to open up a restaurant? Well, I would suggest, why don't you work as a waiter first? Why don't you work at cleaning up tables? Why don't you work your way up to managing a place? And then when you feel like you're ready, okay, then buy your franchise or open up your own place. So I feel the same way with acting and joining the union. Get experience first. And then once you feel that you are ready, then look into joining, because you will have better chances of getting better jobs, higher paying jobs, and like I said, you also will have more protection. Okay, and we're going to be winding things up here pretty shortly. Commercial modeling secrets. The key thing for getting commercial modeling work is having the right materials. And the way that you do that is you put together great commercial photos. And that's something that you really need to learn how to do. Some of the ingredients that go into putting together great commercial shots are, you want to show a shot that looks like an ad. Don't just stand there and smile into the lens of the camera. Those just aren't as interesting as photos that actually look like ads. Bring props into the shot. Props are going to be, if you're a business person, maybe you're sitting down with your laptop. Maybe you've got a cell phone sitting next to you. If you're a student, you're going to have paper. You're going to have books, maybe a calculator. If you're a real estate agent, maybe a prop will be the sold sign standing next to a house as you're shaking hands with a couple, who you just sold the house to. So it's making the shot look like an ad, bringing in props. Um, Make sure that your wardrobe, just like I was talking about with headshots, doesn't stand out. Don't use logos or brand names with any of the props or in your wardrobe. And like I was saying, showing a variety of expressions and emotions is really important. So that way on your composite sheet, you can let people know you're not a one-trick pony. Everything is not that one particular look. And when people first get started, that is typically what happens. You'll work with a photographer and they do the same shot over and over and over and over and over again. So you want to show many different looks. And that way, even if the look that the photographer or the people from the advertising agency, um, they can't see it on your composite sheet, but they can see, wow, this is somebody who has a wide range. This is somebody who can really make things look believable. You have a much better chance of getting hired, and you will be considered for many, many more types of jobs because you want to bang people over the head with the look. So those are um, some of the basic things that we talked about. I mean, certainly we spent like an hour and a half, 2 hours doing that, but just in summary of creating the commercial modeling shots, those are the key factors, making them look like ads, showing a variety of expressions and emotions, having the right props, location as well, and that's how you create a really strong composite sheet. And so, right before we wind up things at the wrap party, sorry there's no music, sorry there's no drinks and food and stuff like that. It's a little hard to do that online. I just wanted to share just a couple of quick things with you, and then we're going to wind things up. Um, you're going to be getting a video from me pretty soon, and I'm going to be making a lot of changes for 2013, along with information for all the season pass members, and I'll show you a link in just a second here. For 2013, Joel, Mark, with my producer, who many of you have either met or heard from, we're going to completely revamp howtomodel.com. We're going to be spending a lot of time with that over the next month or so, and certainly we'll let you know when things are done. But it's going to be, I like what we have. We're going to make it even better, and I'm really very excited, and I'll be sharing that information with you. The other thing, too, is it's a little bit of a change of philosophy, and we have a lot of people in my mailing list, people who have asked to receive regular information from me, on a weekly basis, which I've been doing for a while. And I mean, there are over 20,000 people. And what I've decided to do is, instead of just concentrating on large numbers, I'd rather do things kind of in an opposite direction. And I mean, I'm still more than happy to send out information to anybody who wants to get it, but I really want to focus on smaller groups of people who are really interested in advancing their career and really working hard and making things happen for themselves, people who greatly appreciate the information that I'm sending out. And so I want to really zero in and focus in on that community. And you're a major part of that community. And so I'm going to be not only doing some special things, sending some special information out, just to season pass people. But the other thing too is, as a matter of fact, this will be a really good example of it. On the new website, I'm going to have something called the 30-day challenge. And this is going to be incredible. When you sign up for it, and this is a free service, every day you are going to be sent a video and information about this is what you need to do today to help better your career. And you're going to work on it. And that's going to happen for 30 days, constantly sending things to you. And it will take a lot of the guesswork out of this. It's a real systematic approach to getting more acting and or modeling work. So for all the people who are season pass members, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to send this to you guys first. Anybody who's a season pass member for 2013, you are going to get this before anybody else, and you're going to get started with it. And I'll let you be able to play around with things. So, and there are plenty of other things that I'm also going to be doing just for people in this community, and which you're also going to find it. And once again, I'm going to share this with you right now. You'll be reading about it or seeing it in a video that I'll be sending out soon. For my weekly videos and my weekly letters or like video letters that I'll be sending to you, it's going to be strictly content. Certainly, I'm going to be sending out information about upcoming workshops, about private coaching sessions, or if I'm going to be doing an in-person workshop someplace. Those are going to be separate emails that I will send out to people. But for the weekly information, strictly content. And what's going to be really cool about this is I want to continue to grow my acting and modeling community. And I want us to continue to have conversations and share information with each other. I mean, I learned a tremendous amount from a community of people that, come to my facebook.com/how to model page, which I'm sure all of you have been there. And so what I'm going to be doing in these weekly letters, and this is part of the brand new stuff that I'm going to be doing soon, is sharing great information, great content, information that's going to be invaluable to you, and then open things up for discussion. And I want to ask you to share your experiences, share your stories, share your insights, ask additional questions. And we'll be doing all that stuff on Facebook so we can have this great community of people from literally around the world helping each other out. And to me, that just feels like the best way for me to run my business here, where I'm not concerned about masses. I want to work with groups of people who really care, who want to help each other out, who really want to continue to learn. So anyhow, you're going to be seeing this stuff rolled out actually very soon. And so I was just going to show this to you. For those of you who would like to continue to get the information and be a season pass member, here's the link. You can do that. But for anybody who is on my list and people who do continue to correspond with me, people who are reading the information, I'm still going to be sending this out to you. The reason why I do set up the season pass for people is because I'm able to offer a tremendous discount, and I can't remember the exact number. It's like 40-some% discount if you sign up for the season pass instead of just signing up for individual workshops. I think it only takes like 4 workshops. I can't remember, 4 workshops, and you've already saved a tremendous amount of money. And we're going to continue to do more special programs just for season pass members. Whether it's a special online workshop where it's a Q&A just for season pass members. So anyhow, I just wanted to wrap up the 2012 season. You guys were great. I really loved your questions, loved the responses, and also I really greatly appreciated all the kind words that you all have sent. I know you've posted a lot on Facebook, or you've sent me privately to my email address, and I really hope that you all continue to join me for 2013. And as always, if you have any questions at all, always go to facebook.com/how to model and post them there. You can send them to me there privately if you want, or you can always get to me at my personal website as well. I mean, email address, aaron@howtomodel.com. So anyhow, I hope this was helpful to you. I had a blast. Doing all the workshops. For 2013, we've got, I believe it's 8 workshops set up. I'll be sending you information about all the different topics, the dates, guest speakers, and it's going to be a great year. Really looking forward to it. And yeah, I hope you sign up, and I really look forward to talking with you soon.